Welcome back to Daily Harmony, a journey through A Course in Miracles.
It's great to be back with you again.
Today, we're diving into Lesson 107, and I'm so excited to explore this one. But before we get there, I want to touch on where we left off last time, just to kind of bring us all back to the same page.
I think that's always a good idea. Helps us build on what we've already explored.
Exactly. If you remember last time, we were looking at how our perception really shapes our experience. The whole idea that our thoughts and beliefs really color how we see the world, and how that connects with that pursuit of inner peace.
Yeah. We were kind of digging into how those persistent fears and judgments, those things that just keep coming up, how those impact our inner peace.
Right, and how sometimes questioning those fears and judgments, like really questioning whether they're even true, can be a really powerful step towards, finding more peace within.
Yeah, because sometimes what seems so real, so huge in our minds, might not actually be true, or at least not as solid as it feels. It's like holding up a magnifying glass to something tiny and suddenly it looks enormous.
It's a perfect analogy, and that's what makes today's topic so interesting. We're tackling Lesson 107, Truth Will Correct All Errors in My Mind.
Ah, yes. That's a powerful one, isn't it?
It really is, because at its heart, this lesson is offering this incredible idea, this notion that truth itself has the power to correct those wrong beliefs, those misperceptions, those things that cause us so much inner conflict and ultimately, suffering.
And what I find so fascinating about this lesson, especially considering some of the questions we've received from you listening, is that it emphasizes that truth isn't something we have to create. It's already there. It has this inherent ability to correct things. It's not about willpower alone, but about allowing truth to gently realign our thinking. It's almost as if truth has this built-in mechanism for setting things right.
Right? Like it's a self-correcting system. And it talks about these errors in the mind. That's a phrase you hear a lot in A Course in Miracles. But what are those errors, really?
Well, in the simplest terms, they're those flawed interpretations of what's actually happening. The Course suggests that they are at the root of all our conflicts. It's not that bad things don't happen. It's our interpretation of them, the meaning we give them, that leads to suffering.
So, like, if a friend cancels plans with us, the error isn't the cancellation itself, but rather the story our mind creates around it.
Exactly. Our mind might jump to, oh, they don't like me anymore, or I did something wrong. That's the error that leap to a negative conclusion based on, well, often based on nothing but our own insecurity.
And it's not just about canceled plans, right? These errors pop up everywhere. Maybe we didn't get that promotion at work and suddenly we feel like a failure. Or maybe someone cuts us off in traffic and we're filled with rage. It's those interpretations, those reactions that are rooted in misperceptions.
And the Course would say that those misperceptions often stem from deeper issues: fear, guilt, and, most fundamentally, the belief in separation, that we're all separate, alone, and in competition with each other.
Right. And we talked about that a bit last time, too, about how the Course views this idea of separation as being like the fundamental error, the root of so many other distortions.
Yeah, it's like the original wrong turn, and from there, everything else gets a little twisted.
So in this deep dive, what we're going to do, what I'm hoping to do with you here, is really unpack how focusing on truth, how bringing our attention to truth can actually change how we see things.
It's about allowing truth to kind of dissolve those false beliefs, those deep-seated ideas that keep us, trapped in all those negative feelings, the anxiety, the resentment, the inner turmoil. It's about moving towards that peace and clarity that we all crave.
Exactly. But, and I think this is important to mention, the Course has a specific way of defining truth, right?
Right.
It's not just about facts and figures or what we might conventionally consider to be true.
You're absolutely right. In the Course, truth points to this unchanging reality of love, of peace, of connection. The kind of oneness that binds us all together. It's like the opposite of illusion, the opposite of all those fear-based thoughts. It's the bedrock.
Okay, so how does this truth actually correct the errors? How does that work?
Well, the lesson says that these errors, these misperceptions, are the main drivers of our inner struggles. It's not the external world that's causing the pain, but our interpretation of it. Truth acts as a corrective force. Like, imagine shining a bright light into a dark room, the shadows disappear, right?
Oh, I get it. So the errors, those shadows, can't exist in the presence of truth, that light.
Precisely. And those errors, they're not just intellectual misunderstandings, they're deeply ingrained beliefs that cloud our awareness of our true nature and the true nature of reality.
And that's where the importance of shifting perception comes in, right? It's not about passively waiting for things to change, but actively choosing to see things differently.
Absolutely. We have to be intentional to direct our attention towards truth, to deliberately try and see beyond the illusion of those fear-based thoughts.
So it's about making a choice, moment to moment, to see through a different lens.
Yes. If we think about it in terms of mental habits, we all have these ingrained patterns of thinking. Focusing on truth is a way to interrupt those patterns, to choose a different way of seeing things.
Okay, so can you give me an example of how this might look in real life? Like, how would you apply this to a real life situation?
Sure. Let's say you're feeling really anxious about an upcoming event. Maybe it's a presentation at work or a family gathering, or even just a conversation you need to have with someone. Your mind starts racing, filled with worries about what might go wrong, how others might judge you.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I get anxious about public speaking all the time.
Of course, it's a common experience. But here's where the lesson comes in. Instead of getting lost in those anxious thoughts, those what ifs, take a moment to pause, to reflect on the underlying truth of the situation.
So like asking myself, what's the real truth here?
Exactly. You might ask yourself, what's my inherent worth, regardless of how this presentation goes? What potential for growth might exist in this situation, even if it feels uncomfortable?
I see what you mean. So instead of focusing on those potential negative outcomes, I'm bringing my attention back to those fundamental truths, those unchanging things that are always there.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that the anxiety stems from a misperception, from those errors. The truth is, your value isn't contingent on a flawless presentation or everyone liking you.
And that shift in focus, that shift in perception, can help to diminish the power of those anxious thoughts.
Exactly. The anxiety might not disappear entirely, but its grip on you will loosen as you align with truth.
Okay, so now that we've talked about how this works, let's get practical. What are some tools or exercises that we can use to actually put this lesson into practice?
Well, the lesson offers a couple of really helpful practices. The first is affirmation, and this one's pretty straightforward. It's about regularly repeating the phrase, "Truth will correct all errors in my mind."
I like how simple that is. But I guess the key is not just saying the words, but really feeling them, right?
It's absolutely. It's about letting that affirmation sink in, especially when you're feeling doubtful, fearful, or negative. It's about planting that seed of truth in your awareness, allowing it to take root.
And the second exercise, if I remember correctly, is mindfulness meditation.
That's right. And again, this doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Just a few minutes each day focusing on your breath. The goal isn't to stop thoughts from coming up. That's practically impossible. It's about observing those thoughts without judgment, acknowledging them, and then gently guiding your attention back to your breath, to that present moment awareness.
So it's like creating a space of stillness where those arrows can kind of float away without us getting caught up in them.
Yes, it allows you to connect with a deeper level of reality beyond the constant chatter of your thoughts and emotions.
So in the context of A Course in Miracles, what makes this lesson 107 so significant? Like, where does it fit in the overall scheme of things?
Well, I think it serves as a powerful reminder of how transformative truth really is. It's a key element in the Course's message of healing and forgiveness.
And forgiveness in ACIM isn't about condoning bad behavior, right? It's about seeing through the illusion of those perceived defenses. It's about letting go of the judgments that keep us trapped in pain and suffering.
Exactly. And truth is essential for that because it helps us to see beyond the ego's interpretation of events, to recognize that those errors in the mind are not only causing us personal pain, but also impacting our relationships with others.
So by correcting those misperceptions, by aligning with truth, we open ourselves up to genuine forgiveness, and as a result, healing in our relationships.
And ultimately, as the Course guides us towards awakening to our oneness with God, to that experience of lasting inner peace, Lesson 107 is a crucial step on that journey. It empowers us to take an active role in that awakening by choosing to let go of those misperceptions that act as barriers to experiencing that peace.
I love how it brings it all back to that idea of choice, that we have the power to choose truth over illusion.
Absolutely. And the lesson even gives us a really practical question to reflect on. What errors in my perception can I release today, allowing the truth to guide my thoughts and actions instead?
That's a really powerful question to ask ourselves on a daily basis. It encourages us to be aware of those specific fear-based thoughts, those limiting beliefs that might be influencing us in any given moment.
It's about being mindful of those errors and then making a conscious decision to let them go, to align with truth instead.
So if we consistently put these principles into practice, what kind of outcome can we expect? What does the Course say about that?
Well, the potential is pretty amazing. It suggests that we can experience a much more harmonious and fulfilling life, where suffering significantly decreases and inner peace becomes more constant.
That's a beautiful vision. But it's not just about feeling good, right? It's about a deeper shift in our perception of reality.
You're exactly right. The Course suggests that this consistent application of truth leads to a clearer perception of reality, a more profound understanding of how truth operates in our lives, and a more profound sense of connection and peace that underlies all our experiences.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of illusion to reveal that beautiful truth that was always there, waiting to be recognized.
It's a journey we all take individually, but the potential for transformation through truth is available to everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us today on this deep dive into Lesson 107.
It's always a pleasure exploring these concepts with you.
And before you go, here's a little something to ponder. Think about an area in your life where you often experience conflict, stress, or suffering. Maybe it's a specific relationship, or a recurring pattern of thought, or a challenging situation.
That's right. And this week we encourage you to actively engage with the affirmation, "Truth will correct all errors in my mind," and regularly ask yourself that reflection question. What errors in my perception can I release today?
Pay close attention to any shifts in your perception, your thoughts, and your emotions. See what happens when you invite truth to guide you.
And who knows? You might be surprised by the deeper truths that are waiting to be discovered within those challenges.
Thank you for being here with us today. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you tomorrow.
Until then, may truth illuminate your path and bring you peace.